Boker Tov. Good morning. Today's session is ignorance is bliss, is it? Or basically what happened actually in the Cassaya VSA ransomware attack back in 2021. So my name is Gidi Farkash. I'm a husband, a father, and a dog owner. I'm doing about 22 years in the industry. Recently started my my role as the head of security at People. Before that, I was the director of compliance at Anecdotes. And before that, did a couple of roles in the industry, in Amdocs, Dynasec, and other companies in the security arena all in all, with lots of, many of the years around GRC. So I would like to start with telling you a bit about the Cassaya event or incident. So back in July 2nd, 2021, started an investigation, or basically Cassaya IRT, or Incident Response Team, announced internally that they detected something. And there was an investigation underway. The company back then advised all premises customers to shut down their VSA servers until further notice. And also they themselves shut down the SaaS servers as a precautionary measure. And later on, they discussed it also with the FBI and the CISA, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. They saw some indicators here and there. They had around 40 customers in their own premises that were affected by that event. And they even started preparing a patch once they realized that incident. Later on July 4th, they finally admitted there is an actual business disruption. So basically, an executive committee met and determined that to the best minimize customer risk, more time is actually needed before bringing data centers back online, meaning, as you can understand, that the SaaS tool is still down and they're still recommending on-premises customers to keep it down from their side as well. Actually, in an interview on Good Morning America show, they actually said, "We are confident. We know how it happened and we are remediating it." Later on, of course, the FBI and CISA issued their own joint guidance for MSPs or MSSPs. And of course, urging all of them to take action, such as, for example, ensuring backups are up to date, stored in places that are not connected to their networks, but are easily retrievable locations that they can actually bring it back if needed or once they will need it. And they even realized at some point that the Reveal group is probably behind it or has some influence on that specific event. By the way, at that point, Reveal or someone on their behalf approached Cassaya and actually offered them to sell them a decryption key for the potential ransomware, or the ransomware that they actually used, not just on Cassaya, but also obviously on their customers for 70 million, obviously in Bitcoin, as always. The day after, July 5th, Cassaya promised that the patch for on-premises users is being tested and will be made available within the next day or so. And of course, it took them a bit more. They also promised that their SaaS servers will be back online somewhere at that date, probably, again, 24 hours from the moment that they announced it. And they almost even did it. Again, I'm not going into each and every detail because, as you can understand, each day the incident runs, there are lots of news. I'm just jumping towards the meaning parts. So basically, July 8th, a patch was finally released. And while that happened, the White House, in this case, the White House press secretary, back then it was Jen Psaki, said that the high level of US national security had contacted top Russian officials about the Cassaya attack to make clear its intentions to hold Russia responsible for criminal actions taking place within its borders. Jen also said, by the way, that another ransomware-focused meeting between the two countries was scheduled for the following week. And then a bomb was thrown into the incident. July 10th, 2021. Cassaya said it remained on course to release the on-premises patch and have its SaaS infrastructure online by Sunday, July 11th. So as you can understand, it yet to actually happen. They promised the patch will be released, but it actually didn't. But at the same time, in Bloomberg actually reported in an article, and I can share it with you in a link in a second later on, if you contact me. They actually reported that according to ex-employees of Cassaya, executives were actually warned of critical security flaws for some time, and you will understand what does it mean sometime in a sec. And it actually happened in several occasions, and they failed to address. Now, those warnings of critical security flaws been shipped to the executives in Cassaya between 2017 and 2020, meaning for 3 years, people within the company, expert staff, warns the management about security flaws, and they claim that nothing happened. Eventually, the incident has been closed. Cassaya actually paid a lot of money, not sure whether it was to the Refil group or another group, to get some kind of a decryption key for them and for their customers. What's more important is that actually a week ago, or 2 weeks ago, something like this, on March 19th, just happened to be my birthday, the US Justice, I'm speaking now about 2022, yeah? Like 2 weeks from now, and 2 weeks ago, the US Justice Department finally announced that Poland has arrested Ukrainian national named Yaroslav Wasinski on suspicion of carrying out the attack against Cassaya. Again, he was a member, supposedly, of Revil. He, along with Russian national Yevgeny Polyanin, are charged with conspiracy to commit fraud and conspiracy to commit money laundering, among other charges. Basically, they claim that was part of it. By the way, the law enforcement officials also seized, when they captured him, more than $6 million in ransom payment as part of the operation. By the way, commenting on a statement from November 8, 2021, where President Joe Biden said, "We are bringing the full strength of the federal government to disrupt malicious cyber activity and actors, bolster resilience at home, address the abuse of virtual currency to launder ransom payment, and leverage international cooperation to disrupt the ransomware ecosystem and address safe harbors for ransomware criminals." So as you can understand, that was a really, really huge one. But, well, I started with totally different topic. Is it a bliss to not know something? So basically, who really cares? Do we really care about Cassaya? I mean, unless you are Cassaya, or you used to be a customer of Cassaya, or currently a customer of Cassaya, why do you really need to care? Basically, that's the objective of my presentation of today, to tell you that you should care if you even have one third party. It doesn't have to be Cassaya or someone like Cassaya, whether it's VSA or another tool that helps you to remote access systems or something like this. But as long as you have at least one vendor, and who doesn't have at least one vendor that they're working with, you should care. So, third-party risk management, or TPRM, what do we know about it? So why do we need to manage the risks coming from third parties? So obviously, third parties have differing missions and goals. Their employees are going to be loyal to their own mission and objectives, not to ours. And of course, we are losing control and we might encounter errors and omissions if we use third parties, because obviously it's not our control, it's not under our monitoring or responsibility, not directly. Of course, the final responsibility, what we call the ultimate responsibility or the accountability is ours, but the direct one right now, right here, as with Cassaya, fixing those flaws that were warned to, were reported to management for 3 years, from 2017 to 2020, I guess, or I assume, I want to assume that if even one of the customers of Cassaya would know about it, they would ask, demand, urge, maybe even threat Cassaya to fix it, and if not, they will sue them, leave them, etc. But yes, we don't have any control on our third party, not without doing something in order to have some basic control. What about their poor performance, poor quality, or their employee integrity and background? Obviously, third-party services may not perform as we expected. And again, as part of loss of control or as part of indirect management of them, we have no ability to push them forward besides simply leaving them. And once you use a third party as part of your core systems, for example, your remote access to your environments, to your systems, to your servers, especially during something like COVID, where remote access is important, obviously it's not that easy. And remote access, in this case, the remote administrative access to support, to treat endpoint, etc., is super important. Poor quality, again, maybe in our own organization, we have poor quality, but that's something that we can take care of. But if the customer, if the provider, if the third party has poor quality, we have no ability or no control over it. The integrity of the employees, again, not something that we can take care of it. We cannot do background checks for them. Again, unless we did something before. Vendor failure may result in costs, and eventually those costs will fall on us. I mean, if they will fail on something, we will suffer from it. For example, Cassaya didn't fix their own vulnerabilities. Eventually, their customers, about 1 out of their customers, maybe even a bit more, suffered from that non-secure access. And via those vulnerabilities, even their customers suffered ransomware. Audit and compliance. Eventually, we will understand that the higher than expected cost is what we are going to pay. We may assume that we will pay only for the fee or only for the price of the product or the service and some maintenance fee or something like this, but eventually the cost is much more higher, again, due to the fact that we have no control, no option to actually understand what happened in the vendor's area. And finally, of course, we have no ability or no assurance that applicable laws or things like cross-border data transfer are being kept by our third parties, because they might work from different regions, or they might share it with others, or they might lack some controls that eventually will lead to a non-secured or non-approved transfer of information. So all those things basically are the problems that we have with third party and why we need to manage those risks. Now, Socrates, if you didn't recognize the face, Socrates was actually a Greek philosopher from Athens, one of the first, who is credited as the author or as the founder of the Western philosophy, and also among the first moral philosophers of the ethical tradition of thought. Though he left no text after him, his students, Plato and Xenophon, actually did. Plato, in his dialogues, claims that Socrates admitted to be aware of his own lack of knowledge. And basically, that's what we can learn from Socrates. What will make us smart? What will make us know that we don't know? So you're all familiar with probably those tools. Sending questionnaires to vendors, ensuring that they will provide answers, and then asking questions about those answers till you actually get to know that the answers that you're getting are the answers that you want to get. Attestation, internal and of course also external, starting from self-assessments towards audits like SOC 2 and ISO 27001 and others that can provide with some kind of assurance, even an independent opinion about the security posture of your vendor. Site visits, whether you do it by surprise or whether you actually coordinate it. The fact that you can perform a site visit means that you can actually visit the site, visit the vendors, processing centers, etc., and you can take a look and actually make sure that that vendor is actually doing things the right way. You actually need to see it in your own eyes sometimes to establish the confidence in your third party's controls. Of course, security scans, pen tests, etc. As an organization, if you agree with your vendor that they will perform a pen test, whether it's do it internally or independently with the companies that you agree, for example, a vendor that you are familiar with and you can trust them, or other types of security scans that ensure that all their assets, the third-party assets that may put you at risk are also secured, at least in an industry practice way. But obviously the aim, the goal is to ensure that they are aligned with yours. That's another tool that you can actually use. And finally, of course, the external cyber intelligence and business intelligence that can help you understand, for example, if you're using LexisNexis or Dun & Bradstreet services to understand their financial health, again, of that vendor. And of course, the external cyber intelligence, if you can actually realize via buying such services to ensure that your vendor is really secured and is not exposed, not at least as in something that you can actually find online. So those things, those tools can actually help you and give you some more assurance or provide some more trust into the security posture of your vendor. And basically, we always want to aim for gaining the same security maturity levels that we have in our own organization within our vendors. But sadly, as you can understand, it's not always the case. And Cassaya is only one example among lots of others that actually show that it's almost always not the same. So before wrapping it up, you are all familiar with the three monkeys, so I wouldn't go into the details too much, but what you don't know can't hurt you, is it? Same as we secure our own organization, invest in learning about our risks, build a treatment plan, communicate everything to our senior management, gaining their commitment, gaining their approval, performing awareness training sessions to all of our employees, any type of employee, R&D, support, etc. We need to invest in managing our third parties. We need to make sure they invest as we do. We need them to align to our standards. We need them to continuously monitor the security posture exactly the same way we do internally. We need to start thinking and looking at our vendors as basically one more business unit in our own organization. And only then, when we will actually manage them, our vendors, as just another business unit in our own organization, meaning invest whatever we can to make sure that they don't put us at risk, only then we'll be able to sleep good at night. So, is ignorance really a bliss? You tell me. Thank you very, very much.